Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm so sorry about the abrupt cut-off at the last video. Mea culpa, I bumped the camera as I was moving my hand across to point at the photo, and that pretty much put paid to it, I'm afraid. Really annoying because I was literally only a couple of sentences from wrapping this one up. I did briefly think about just putting a summary in the description of what I'd been about to say, but then, having made you all sit through more than half an hour of my jibber jabber, it wouldn't have seemed right to just leave it at that without a proper sign off. So, when I was cut off in mid sentence, I was really just going to say that aside from the major modifications to her gunnery direction and anti aircraft capability, the ship that fought in the Java Sea campaign was effectively the same HMS Exeter that had fought at the River Plate. Overall, no major changes, except that she was somewhat more capable in the context of a surface action. Now, given the opposition that they faced, I mean, the Admiral Doorman's Abda squadron of mismatched, hastily thrown together Allied ships never had that much of a chance against the much more cohesive force the Japanese brought against them. And Exeter, in her battle against four Nachi-class cruisers, despite the fact that all of those carried nothing bigger than 8-inch guns, I would say they represented a much more significant threat to Exeter's existence than did Graf Spee, even though Exeter had more ships available to help her at the Java Sea. It didn't really avail any of them much. So just to look at the damage she absorbed, over the period of a couple of days between the end of February and the 1st of March, Exeter had initially suffered a rather bad hit from an 8-inch shell which hit her aft boiler room and reduced her speed to 16 knots. Now, she was lucky to get away from that. She was able to make some very basic repairs, which incredibly got her speed back up to something respectable. But 2 days after the damage was received, she went up against the four Japanese heavy cruisers again in the crowning battle that effectively finished the Abda naval forces, bar a few, postscripts. But for Exeter, this one was the end, and she took another 8-inch, this time in the forward boiler room, which started a rather serious fire and basically caused a complete power loss to her propulsion systems. And that was pretty much that. Her captain very sensibly saw the game was up and ordered abandoned ship to save as many of his men as he could. So that was the end of the plucky Exeter, a ship who surprisingly did, pretty well in all her major actions against much heavier opponents, but at the end of the day spent a heroic and all too brief career being other people's punching bags, it seems, but not a bad ship at all. Now, while I was looking for images to put this together, I stumbled across one that I initially wasn't going to use because this particular aspect of the makeup of a ship and her crew do not often get a mention, certainly not in wargaming circles. But when Exeter returned after the action against the Graf Spee, one of Britain's official war artists was commissioned to paint portraits of select members of her officers and crew. And the artist in question, whose name unfortunately escapes me at this moment, decided not to restrict themselves just to the humans, but also painted this rather gorgeous portrait of Exeter's cat. Now, I know that Graf Spee undoubtedly had a pet or two as well, but whatever species it was and whatever its name was, there is no pictorial depiction of it, whereas we have this. Now, I've no idea how you would rate this or even acknowledge its existence in a war game. Gary Graber, of course, didn't put any mention on the counter, but I thought it was worth highlighting to end the video on a bit of a lighter note and just show that if you really want to go to the nth degree, here's yet another thing you can explore, which is, I don't know, how do you rate a ship for the better pet? Is it cuteness factor? And how do you deal with something so subjective? Maybe that will end up being the main discussion piece in the wake of this video. But just to sum up, I think aside from a few minor niggles, the Graf Spee and the Exeter are both quite sensibly represented in this game. There are a few things that make me raise my eyebrow when it comes to Exeter, as I say, where I think she's been slightly beefed up, but it doesn't seem to harm the gameplay any. And I think she has good representation. I wouldn't really quibble with any of her ratings in a game like this. And as for Graf Spee, I think the system hits the nail on the head. She is well modelled, and her capabilities relative to Exeter, I would say, need no change either. So I'll leave you all with the picture of Exeter's cat. And just remains for me to say thank you so much for following this series. It's been really great having your company, as always. I really do appreciate it. A huge hello to all my veterans who've put up with me for so long. Always great to see you guys. It's always a pleasure. And to anyone who's visiting my channel, perhaps for the first time, a huge welcome to you too. Welcome aboard. As you can see from this particular two-parter, I do often suffer from technical difficulties, but I hope you'll forgive that. And if you're into wargaming, please have a wander around my channel, see what else is on offer. You're more than welcome. And so I'll bid you all farewell and close up this very short part 2. And just to say take care, and I really look forward to seeing you all again in my next video. Bye.